tonight. Welcome, everyone. Hi, I'm Jessica Medina. I am a former lawyer turned accredited financial counselor, and I host these Zoominars every month. And I'm so excited to have my friend and fellow coach, Elena Deutsch, here with me today. We are going to be working on unlocking the golden handcuffs to free your money and mindset to pursue the career you desire. Between the work that Elena does with your brain and the work that I do with your finances, we really can get you anywhere that you want to go. So we're going to walk you through all of those strategies tonight. And we're so excited to share all of this information with you. Just some housekeeping issues before we get started. Of course, this is being recorded, so you all probably got the warning when you came in, but that also means that you don't have to worry too much about taking notes. I want you to know you're going to have access to this recording. We will be sending it out. We're also going to have some handouts that we're going to be talking about during the workshop, and you're going to get copies of those as well. And I'll be popping links into the chat of where you can download those. But also, if you have any questions while we're going through the workshop, Elena is a master multitasker. So just pop them into the chat. She runs a very interactive workshop. She's really good at keeping up with what's going on in the chat and making sure you're getting all of your information. I am not a multitasker. I'm a single tasker. So if I'm presenting, Elena's going to try to watch the chat for me to make sure I don't miss any questions. But we will also have time at the end for questions if something pops up and you didn't get a chance to ask it while we were going through everything. Next month, we're going to have a Zoominar with a student loan expert from Student Loan Planner, so be on the lookout for that. But now, let me turn it over to Elena. Thank you so much for joining us on the Zoominar tonight. We're so excited to go through this workshop with you.
Hello, hello. My name is Elena Deutsch, and I am the founder of WILL, which stands for Women Interested in Leaving Big Law. And big is in parentheses with a lowercase b because you could be in-house, you could be at a small law firm, you could have already left the law, and we can help you if you feel stuck, unhappy, achieve clarity, get relief, and leave those soul-sucking jobs. So I'm super happy to do that. I do it mostly with women, some men, trans, non-binary people, of course, welcome. I want to give a big shout out and thank you to Jessica for having me on this Zoominar. We've done a similar workshop a couple of times, but it's really fun to do it like in her space. So thank you for having me in your Zoom room tonight. And for those of you watching the replay, this is going to be juicy, it's definitely going to be interactive, and it's going to be playful. So be ready to play with us tonight. And if you're watching the replay, play along too. The benefit is going to be in you doing some of the work. So just to get us started, to kick us off, drop your first name and where you are coming in from tonight into the chat so we can say hello. Let me open up my chat. There we go. And use the everyone function if you're comfortable with that, so people can see who you are. And I believe I see someone I do know here. We got Melissa in the house. Hi, Melissa. Good to have you here. Just right. You're Adrienne from Queens. Hello. Jessica from DC. Typically, I am in New York, but tonight I'm in Philadelphia in my brother's house. So that's where I'm coming in from. All right, so go ahead and keep doing that. Drop your name in the chat as I run through the agenda. So in just a moment, we're going to do a grounding exercise because it's been a day. And if your day has been a day like most people's are, right? We're going to separate the day so you can get super present and be here fully take in this information, right? To let your day thus far trail away behind you. So we're going to do that. I'm going to kick us off with opening up your money mindset, and then I'm going to pass it back to Jessica, who's going to take you through two great, amazing exercises, recognizing the golden handcuffs and your new life. Then I do have an invitation. If you're curious about WILL, if you're WILL curious, I like to say, and you want to maybe go further, I'm going to share more about what we do in WILL, how it can serve you, some of the amazing stories and results members get from doing the work. And then we'll have a little Q&A and discussion in the next steps. This is interactive. Again, we'll do some chat. And, it really, the interactivity is great for people watching the replay too. So just think about like your example or your questions. Like, please don't hesitate to share them because they're really going to be useful, hopefully, of course, for you and also maybe for someone else. Okay, great. So welcome, Heather. Welcome, Melissa. Okay, good. Terrific. Very, very good. All right. So let's get started. Yeah. Okay, so I invite you to close or lower your eyes. There should be a beautiful picture of a forest here in front of you. And if it feels nice to just sort of gaze at that, you can, or you can close or lower your eyes. Just take a few nice, slow, deep breaths. Maybe feel your feet on the floor. Feel your spine elevate nice and tall. With your next exhale, feel your shoulders relax and release. Let the skin on your forehead soften. Let your jaw unclench. Feeling your body in this present moment. From this place, just let the day trail away behind you. Imagine there's a beam of light shining on a circle in front of you, and you step in and you are here now in this light. Anything you're worried about to do later, just set it outside the circle. It will be there for you. But for now, you are here to receive something. You showed up to watch this, to be here for a reason. And that is what you are here for you. To put yourself, your mind, your money, your priorities first. And we're going to honor you with that and give you all we've got to help you on your way. When you're ready, set an intention. How do you want to show up tonight? How do you want to show up as you're listening to this? Do you want to be present? Do you want to engage? What do you need to do? Notifications closed so that you can make the most from this time. Give yourself huge kudos for being here, for showing up, for listening to this. And when you're ready, open up your eyes. All right, so I would love to hear, I just asked you to think about what is it you are doing this for a reason tonight. You're getting on another Zoom call, you're watching a recording. What is it you want to take away from this? So I invite you to type that into the chat. What's something you want to get from this tonight? Great, and go ahead and type into the chat. What is it you showed up here for? I'm gonna just hang out a sec, take a sip of water. Yes. Jessica's hoping to get great questions. Clarity, Eileen, thank you. Yeah, that's one of the core things I hear people want, how to become clear on what else you want. Good. Right, as you're thinking about that and typing into the chat, I'm gonna keep us going, right? Ideas for a path forward. Thank you, Melissa. Beautiful. All right, so I'm going to share a little bit about my story and how I came to do this. Because Jessica, in her introduction, she shared, I'm not a lawyer. Most people think I am one. I'm actually not. My dad was one, and he was a criminal defense attorney in New York during the 1950s and 60s and 70s. I'm old, and he was old when he had me. And one night, I always thought I would be a lawyer like him. And then one night, he didn't come home. And he had embezzled money from a client and been arrested. And fortunately, he didn't go to prison, but it was really he was disbarred. It was the end of his career in law, and he never was really quite the same. And that made me go like, that doesn't feel so safe. That doesn't feel so good to me anymore. And I found my way into public health and then coaching. Once I started coaching, I always attracted lawyers to me. And I left my public health work and I went into my friend's business and became a partner in his business. And we were coaching lawyers at some of the world's biggest firms, at Cleary, at some of the other big firms. And I would coach these women lawyers who were rising fifth and sixth year associates, help them with their leadership. And when I would ask them, what are your goals? Do you want to make partner? And they would like whisper to me and look for hidden microphones and say, no, Elena, can I really talk to you about that? And I would assure them of our confidentiality. And I helped a number of them. And then, make changes, leave the law, do things that they really felt so much more aligned with. And some stayed in law doing something else. Like this one with this one person I was coaching, and I'll call her Fabienne, and she was European. And when she wanted to go back home for her father's 60th birthday party, she transitioned everything, and the firm just gave her so much grief. And she was told that she had dropped the ball, and they asked her to cancel her vacation, and she said no. And it wasn't a happy moment. So I helped her get super clear that what she wanted was to go in-house to a place that had unlimited vacation days. And she was working towards that. When she said that, when she got that kind of clarity, I got full body goosebumps. And then I was on vacation in Cape Cod. I was with my family. It was my 50th birthday. And my mom had actually died a couple of years earlier. And so I was really thinking about what I wanted to do. I felt lit up by doing this work with women lawyers who are just have so much to offer the world. And I know there are so many more out there who need help and want to get out of this big law grind, this treadmill, sometimes people call it a hamster wheel, right? So I had my own wake up call. And literally the idea for Will was shaking me out of bed at 5:30 in the morning. And I got up and I started journaling. The words women interested in leaving law came out of my pen. And I sort of knew that was how I had to go. And I came back from vacation. I kind of broke up with my business partner, and really the next year Will was born. And since then, I've been on this trajectory of helping women lawyers leave big law, do work that they love, find work that's more meaningful, aligned. And I'm on a mission in this next year to help 100 women leave big law. So that's kind of who I am and what I'm doing. And really, I work with women lawyers who feel isolated, stuck, unhappy, so often don't know what else you could do. Many people went K through JD and don't know what else is out there, right? And they struggle to how to begin. Is there a process that could help me? How do I find the time? So I'll tell you more about that later. But like, if you're like many lawyers, money is one of your top barriers. I hear this all the time, right? You have this fear of earning less, the loans, your lifestyle, you don't want that to change much. You've got loans to pay back, right? So if this feels familiar, drop a Y or a yes into the chat, all right? That making money is one of your top barriers to trying to leave, either big law or yes. Okay, so I'm starting to get some Ys, great, right? And you have this fear of earning less. You're like, I can't earn less. Sometimes there's a story of like, I'm gonna go from big law money to zero, or I'm gonna go to like earning $30,000. I can't do that, right? So if this feels familiar, go ahead and drop another Y into the chat. Okay, good. So we got a few. And then, we're in the pandemic, right? And people are expected to be available 24/7. There's really no separation from work and home anymore. And that's good for some people. They don't miss the commute. They don't miss being in the office, but just the expectations and demands are endless. So, you want to make a change, but you worry about that student loan debt, don't want to earn less, or being told you should always say yes and have time to figure this out. So again, if any of this rings true, drop another Y or yes into the chat. This is how I like to play. So give us a little yes. Thank you. Thank you, Adrienne. So good. Right? So it doesn't have to be this way. And I'll share more about Will later if you want to hear, but you absolutely can have meaningful work that you're proud of, freedom from that billable hour, have greater presence with the people who matter most to you, and all while doing great with money. So if you want that, drop another Y and you are in the right place. And, if you would like to begin, hit me up with another why. And we're going to get started and go and work on your money and mindset. You ready? Okay, we're going to do this. Yes, let's do this. Sounds good. All right, great. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to start by sharing a core tool that I use with all Will members. I use it every day with myself. I use it with friends. If they're open to a little coaching, I ask first, because as a coach, we have to not coach people who don't want to be coached. That's part of our ethics, right? But I see this everywhere and I use it. And I'm going to share with you the process first, and then I'm going to give you some great examples, and then you're going to do a little bit of this work. Right. So there are circumstances, right? Things happen. Circumstances is like in a court of law, you would say, the phone rang, or my partner said something, or, I was walking down the stairs and I tripped, right? It's the circumstance. It's what happens. It's the tip of the dominoes. Right. And this happens all day. We have circumstances. Things are happening in our life. The phone rings, we get an email, etc. And these circumstances trigger a thought. Right. And the thought is a sentence that forms in our mind. We think, oh gosh, like, I tripped on the stairs. Am I okay? Right. Like, let me just check my body for a sec. Right. And then the circumstances underline those thoughts, which then lead to a feeling. And a feeling is a vibration in our body. So again, maybe you trip on the stairs, like I said, in my brother's house right now, he's got a lot more stairs. I'm like being careful on the stairs. So that's in my mind. So maybe the feeling is anxious or scared or nervous or uncertain, right? So that's a feeling, the vibration in our body. And that leads us to an action, right? What's an action that we do or we don't do? This is super important, because an action is something we can do or we cannot do. If I got hurt on the stairs, maybe I'm going to go call someone. Maybe I'm going to get help. Maybe I'm going to be like, no, I'm okay. I don't need to do anything. Right. And then we get the results. Okay. Maybe we get help if we need it. All right. So results are the effects of our actions. Now, we can't control our circumstances. Right? We can't control what happens. We can't control COVID. We've all learned this. We can't control people, other people's behavior, but we can control our thoughts, feelings, actions, and results. So I call this process TFAR, right? And I want to share a real Will member example with you about that. Would that be useful? Because this is kind of a lot of theory right now. So if it would be useful to hear a real example, hit me up with another why or yes. I would appreciate it. Great. So Lauren is a third year associate, a tax associate. And the circumstance is that she was meeting with a partner. She had a meeting scheduled with a partner. She had been asked, she was trying to maybe get this other job, doing more pro bono work at her firm or helping coordinate that. And she knew she had this meeting coming up with a partner. And she had this feeling or this thought, really, that the partner is going to ask me to take on a new project. And I've decided I'm not willing to. And some of this boundary setting work is something we do in Will also. So this is like a combination of the boundary setting with the TFAR. So, but her thought very clearly is like, I am not willing to do that. And her feeling was resolute and calm and certain. And when he asked her, she said, okay, so he did ask her, would you take on this other huge project? She said, thank you for thinking of me. I wouldn't be able to do quality work given all else that is on my plate. That's it. She said no. So that was her action. And then the result is that she had more time for herself, right? She has this nice husband she likes to hang out with. She had time to sleep and cook and work out and do better, more focused work on the projects she already has. And she's also very creative. So do some of her creative work and focus on her Will journey. She's trying to get out. She doesn't want to, she said no to this other project. So those are the results she got. Does this make sense? Drop a yes or a Y in the chat if this is resonating, if this is making sense. So this is, thanks, Melissa. So this, and I teach how you can intervene at each of these levels, right? I teach different ones, but today we're just going to start with the thoughts, because we all have these thoughts and we have them all day long. So I'm going to show you how you can take kind of that automatic thinking and turn it into more intentional thinking, so you get new results. It's amazing. Our thoughts actually create our results. It's kind of magical and hard to believe, but I'm going to show you how, and then you're going to play. All right. So the circumstance might be you want to leave big law, right? Or leave your law job. And the thought, and let's focus it on money because that's what we're here to talk about tonight, is I can't live on $30,000 a year. There's like no way, right? That's the thought. And that makes you feel anxious, stressed, worried. And action is, again, one of those inactions. You stay, you don't do anything new, you don't try to leave. And then the result is no change, and you feel unhappy and you feel stuck, right? And you feel unhappy with yourself. So that's how it can look out. And let's look at this in a new way, right? Trying to get it to advance. It's being a little sticky. Okay, so if this kind of situation sounds familiar, drop another Y or yes into the chat. This kind of like, these are the thoughts I'm having. I'm not really taking action. I'm not propelling myself forward in the way I want. So drop me a yes if that sounds familiar. Okay, and then while you do that, I'm gonna give you some new thinking, some examples of a new potential way to do this. The circumstance is the same, right? It's a court of law. Like if you wrote like, I want to leave big law, or I fell down the stairs, or the partner asked me for a meeting, right? The thought is, I am smart and hardworking, and I have a heck of a lot to offer. I can definitely find a job that pays me well. That's a new thought, right? That's a different thought. And that thought might feel more excited, empowering, energizing, right? And so maybe now you're doing something, you're seeking help, you're having conversations, you're talking to people, and you're getting more information. The result is you get more information that guides your next step. And then you take a step and a next step and a next, etc. It happens one little step at a time. All right, so let's focus this now on money. Okay, let's get into some of your money thoughts. So I want you to just take a moment, and what are some of your money thoughts when you are thinking about making a career change? So take a moment. What are some of the money thoughts that might be holding you back, that you know, or like you're like, oh, it's not possible. I actually had a call today with someone. She's like, I would love to work part-time, you know, and remotely, but that's a unicorn. I was like, well, that's a thought. It's actually just a thought. Whether it's possible or not, are there part-time remote jobs out there? Of course there are, for sure. So I'm going to take a sip. I used to think that if I left big law, I'd be destitute and make no money at all. Yes, thank you, Jessica, right? That's that catastrophic thinking I see so often in people, right? I could never make enough money again. I'll never make as much money again is another thought. I'm going to be homeless and out on the streets, not going to be able to afford my lifestyle. All right, so have a think and drop one of your thoughts in the chat, because we're about to do some work. So we're gonna be playing with one of these thoughts. So pick a thought about money. Let's see if we could get one. Anyone else got one? All right, thank you. Thanks, Penny. I don't know how much money I really need to live comfortably in a completely different location where I'd rather live. Like, I just don't know. You just don't know. Yeah, that's a great one. Who else has another one? Thank you for that. Right? I don't know how much I need. Okay. While you're thinking, I'm going to get you going on the exercise because I want to keep this moving. All right. How big of a pay cut can I afford? Right? Or if that's a question, so, right, like how big of a pay cut can I afford? And that might energize you to let's see, we're going to play with it. So you're going to take your thought and with Jessica, can you drop the worksheet link, the TFAR worksheet link into the chat? And if you don't get it or you don't have it, because it's a PDF, actually, I should have put it as a Word doc. I'm sorry I didn't do that. But all you really need is a piece of paper. And you're going to do, and you know what? I actually have it. I have it pulled up. So let me see if I can share. Let me stop this share and go to sharing my other screen now. Yes? Okay, great. Okay, good. So this is the worksheet. Don't worry about printing it out if you don't have it, right? Or if you're not playing live and you don't have it. So it's just, you're going to write a circumstance. If you can think of one, if you can't, just start with your thought. That's fine, right? The circumstance might be, I want to leave this job, right? Thought, what are some of your money thoughts? Feelings, actions, and results. Okay, so I'm going to give you a minute to do this. And let me just make this smaller so you can see the whole thing. Okay, so go ahead and take a moment and do this. The thought, the feelings, the actions, and the results. Right. This is such a, Julia, thank you for that one. It's so true. It would be difficult to find a job as prestigious, intellectually stimulating, and well-paying as Big Law, right? Why would you ever leave? Right? That's all right. That's a great one. So that's great. It would be difficult to find a job as prestigious, intellectually stimulating, and well-paying as a Big Law job. So put that in your thought line and notice then, how does that make you feel? And then what actions? And then what results? Okay, so take a moment and do that. I'm going to give you like another 30 seconds. Oh, go, Jessica Medina. Yes. Tech savvy. Hello. Thank you. Eileen, thank you. Awesome. So you can type right into the document now. I love it. Teamwork. That is so good. Thank you. All right. And the results, of course, are the anticipated results. Like, what results do you think you might get if those are the actions that you take? So let's just play this one out, right? And Julia, if Julia, would you be willing to take off your mute button and share your work with that thought? What feelings it brought up, what actions you might take or not take, and what results you would get? Would you be willing to do that?
Yeah, and I
Thank
think
you.
it would be very similar to one of the examples that you had earlier, where basically with the feeling like you feel stuck and then you end up doing nothing because you're like, well, this is as good as it gets and I can't ever find something that competes with it, so why bother looking for anything?
Right. And then what results do you get if those are the feelings and actions?
You just kind of keep working in Big Law and just kind of be like downtrodden about your future.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that so much. All right. So now I want you to all do, and Julia, use this. What's a new thought? What's a new thought that you could choose to think? You might not believe it yet, and that's okay. We're just playing here, right? So what's a new thought you could think, like, well, maybe I could find a job that's prestigious and stimulating and pays well. That's not in Big Law, and I wouldn't feel downtrodden. Like, so maybe just flip, take like, and what was Jessica had one up here, like, I can afford a pay cut, or I'm going to figure out how much money I need to live on. Like, what, just so everyone choose a new thought and do this exercise with a new thought. Again, it's okay if you don't believe it yet. That's fine. We're just playing. So I'll give you just one more minute, and then Julia, if you'd be willing to come back and play again, I would most appreciate it. Right. And Penny, like for you, I don't, maybe it's like, I can figure out how much money I need. Like, I can figure that out. That might be a new thought. Okay, great. Do you need more time, or are you guys good? Okay, somebody came off mute. Julia, is that you? You ready to?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Fantastic. Beautiful. Go ahead and share. Thank you.
My new thought is that it's possible to find a job that has those qualities, as well as like other qualities that I might be looking for. And my likelihood of finding a job with the qualities I'm looking for increases if I like start looking for that job.
I love it. Yes. Good. And how does that thought feel?
I don't feel like a stuck. It feels like there's, it makes sense to kind of take off your blinders and look at the other possibilities there. There's like a feeling of opening, like the possibility and curiosity.
I love it. And then what actions might you take if you feel more open to possibility and curiosity?
I mean, as a first step, I honestly, like, I went to the Will website and I kind of looked at what do you guys do and kind of what are the different resources out there for I think someone looking to leave Big Law or to change careers.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy you found us. And
I was really happy too.
It's great. And look, and you showed up here tonight. You're going to learn a lot here today from me, and then Jessica, and then I'll share more about Will, and we can always schedule a call too if you want. But I'm so happy for you that you showed up and you're participating, and what result might you get if you do Will, or you work with Jessica, or you take those blinders off and you at least are doing new things. What results might you get?
I think you'd be open, at least there's like a greater likelihood that by looking for something, you'll be more likely to find it, or your feeling of curiosity might lead you to like a new path that you haven't considered before.
Yes. Right? Because if you're not looking, you certainly aren't going to find it, right? But if you're open and curious, you might find that new path. So beautiful, Julia. Thank you. Can everybody give her like a thumbs up? Like, do one of your, give her, thank you so much for this. Doesn't this make it like a richer experience for everyone? So drop a Y into the chat, or a yes or something. Thank you. Really beautiful. Really appreciative for you sharing. So I'm going to stop my sharing, go back to my slides, try and do that. All right. I'm tap dancing here for a sec. Hang on. All right, here we are. Okay, great. That was so good. And I'll do slideshow. Fantastic. So that's the TFAR tool. And like, you have this worksheet now, and thank you, Eileen, for making it into a Word doc. And this is a tool, again, I use it every day, all day. Not perfectly. I'm not like doing this perfectly, you guys, because we have thousands of thoughts a day. But with a little awareness and a little practice, you can catch some of those thoughts. You can catch a few of them at least, right? And then choose a new thought intentionally, proactively, because we always have that power. As long as we're alive and have the cognition, right? We're able to choose a new thought and not feel so downtrodden. Because if you can choose a new thought, you can find new feelings to fuel new actions and get you those new results, right? And you're actually building new neural pathways when you do it. You're creating new thought patterns in your brain when you do this. So this is totally science also. So I would love to, before I turn it back to Jessica, just like get what's one takeaway that you're getting from this so far. So what's one takeaway? What's one good thing, one thought that you're getting from this so far? So I'm going to okay, good. Amazing transformation thinking. Yeah, so good. All right. I'm going to turn this back to Jessica, but please, as we're transitioning, I just want to say thank you so much for your participation, for doing this. Again, if you're doing this, the replay, fantastic. Go on, start practicing this tool every day. And if you're ready to move on, drop a Y or a yes into the chat. So Jessica is poised and ready to take over. So here she is. I'm going to stop my share and put on my mute. And I'll be back later, just before you go, Jessica, to share more about Will. All right, thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Elena. And if folks who are here live want to pop into the chat what their biggest takeaway has been so far, just watching someone actually go through the TFAR process. I also use some of these tools now that I've learned them from Elena, and how they actually work in my life. But watching other people get to experience them in real time is just, it just warms my heart to see, like exactly as Julia was describing. It's just possibility that wasn't available previously. And that's the first thing that we need to really start down the road of doing something differently. So let me get my screen up and let me change this so that it's nice and big for everyone. Just give me a thumbs up if you guys can see my slides. Perfect. So Elena has basically prepared your mind for all of that openness and curiosity and possibility of, just being ready to maybe receive some different, some potential scenarios in your life. And what I like to do is bring it down to a very practical level because I'm an accredited financial counselor. So I deal with a lot of numbers. Now, granted, I am still a counselor, so we deal with a lot of the emotional aspects of money, why we do have the money issues that we do, why we think about money the way that we do. But a lot of it also just comes down to number crunching. And so we're going to go through some really practical strategies that you can use and apply in your own life to figure out how much does it really cost to work at a job you find unfulfilling? Because I can tell you with the clients that I've worked with, it can be shockingly expensive. And so we're going to think through what is actually going on so that you can take that information when you're thinking about what life could be like on the other side and make sure that it's part of the equation when you're determining, is it really worth it to stay here or do I need to go? So one of the things that we always talk about, right, are these things called the golden handcuffs. Historically, golden handcuffs were supposed to be related to, like, pensions and basically benefits that you wouldn't get access to until you had stayed at a company for a particular amount of time. That's why you were handcuffed in, right? But they're golden because it had to do with money. In law, especially with the fancy lawyer salaries, I was at a major firm in DC for 8 years before I went to the federal government, taking a 50% pay cut. And I can tell you, those golden handcuffs are a little bit different, right? It's not necessarily the pension that I was waiting for, because what law firm opens a pension anymore? It's all of those things that just you have to spend money on in order to keep your job and to keep your sanity. Right, so I have broken up these types of golden handcuffs into 4 distinct categories. And while I'm going through them, pop in the chat if any of these seem familiar or pop up in your own life. Right, so we have the golden handcuffs that are job related, right? These are expenses that we carry that just have to do with the fact that you work during the day, right? There are some families that perhaps have a stay-at-home parent. I was a single mom. I had twins when I was in law school. I graduated and went straight to my law firm with my kids. And so I had a lot of job-related expenses that I needed to spend money on just to keep my job, right? Because I've gone for most of the day. So we're talking about extended childcare. We're talking about parking and commuting costs. We're talking about your business clothing wardrobe. I can tell you right now, my shirt wardrobe is the same, but for Zoom, the bottom wardrobe has really eased up a bit over the past year and a half, right? But also the dry cleaning, right? Like we talked about the commuting costs, the parking. All of those are expenses that are just related to you having the job you have. Right? If you didn't work in the very building you work, your parking wouldn't cost what it costs. And so we want to take all of that into account when we're thinking about how much your job currently costs. The second category are those golden handcuffs related to having a 24/7 job, because especially if you're at a big law firm, you're working all the time. Right now, we're doing it from home, which is its own issues. But normally, right, if you're on call all the time, if you're thinking about work all the time, it makes it very difficult to do anything in any other area of your life, which means that you end up paying for convenience. you end up paying for services that you can't perform on your own because you're constantly working. So thinking about all of the money that we spend on takeout, on ordering food, on house cleaning services, all Instacart basically handles our entire lives right now because we couldn't go to the store for so long. But thinking about, what are the expenses that pop up in your life that are a direct relation to the fact that you just work all the time. The third category are those things that we buy ourselves because we deserve it, right? We are working all the time. So there have to be things that we get for ourselves, right? To reward ourselves, to make ourselves feel better. So we're talking about basically fancy anything, right? So the jewelry, the bags, the shoes, the accessories, you can tell it's a golden handcuff if you can't remember what you ordered when the delivery arrives, right? When you have packages coming and you can't even remember what is supposed to be in the box and you open it and don't remember ordering it, right? That's even the next level. This was what many of my clients experienced through the pandemic, just because the idea of, being in between briefs for their for their emotions coming up and being able to scroll online and do some online shopping and pick out a new pair of shoes or pick out a nice handbag, it gave them this little jolt of joy that dissipated the moment that they went into the shipping and into the that email confirmation funnel, and then by the time it arrived, it was like, oh my gosh, did I order that? Maybe another small jolt, and then it goes into the pile with the rest of the things because you're working all the time anyway. When are you going to go out with your fancy handbag? But so those are the things that often we think that we need to buy them because we deserve it. We work really hard, we make a lot of money, but maybe they don't even get used. And the last category are those things that we spend money on that are really self-soothing techniques, right? If we don't have a lot of outlets for stress relief, there's an inordinate amount of stress for lawyers, for big law in particular. And if you don't have good outlets for dealing with all of those negative emotions that you're carrying around, you might use shortcuts, right? So going to get massages, going to bars when they were open, or right now, alcohol delivery, right? That's how all the bars survived the pandemic. But also, entertainment. Some people even consider travel a self-soothing activity, right? If you are traveling to get away from your life, not to really enjoy and explore a new place, then that is a self-soothing activity. And coming back home, it's just going to get you ready to want to go on the next trip. Even if you don't even, even care about where you're going, that's a sign that this is a self-soothing activity. So these are the types of expenses that I consider the golden handcuffs that keep lawyers stuck in big law much longer than they might need to be. And so pop in the chat if any of this sounds familiar and is maybe a category of spending that you see pop up in your own life. And if you would be willing to identify which you think is the biggest culprit, I would love to hear from folks. I can tell you when I was practicing, definitely convenience spending was my thing. I am not a lazy person. I obviously was a lawyer and, did really important things and, worked really hard. But I didn't like to cook. I didn't like to clean. I told myself I could be a lawyer and I could be a mom. And that was about all that I could handle. And so, convenience spending was my big expense. So anything related to, somebody else making my food, somebody else cleaning my house, somebody else running my errands, that was my big sore spot. But so just to give you an example of one of my own clients that I was working with, these are examples of their monthly spend in these different categories. So it was a couple in a major metropolitan area. They had 3 beautiful children, and they both worked in the professional sphere. One was at a law firm, one was at an accounting firm. And so they both made really good money. The question was, where was that money going? And when we actually dug into their numbers, we saw that they were spending about $11,000 on their job related expenses, about $900 on services that were just related to the fact that they work all the time, another $300 per month on things that they, just wanted to get just because they were nice and they felt good, and another $450 on activities that were just there to kind of relieve the stress of their days. So all in, right, these are monthly figures. It was over $12,000 a month that were going to these four categories of spending. It was over $150,000 a year. And these folks made good money, but this was a third of their total monthly spend. And so when we actually went through this and looked at what was going on, when you realize that a third of your income is going toward things that are just really serving you being able to survive the job that you're in, it starts to get those juices flowing, thinking of, what if I didn't have to spend a third of my monthly income on these things? What would my life look like? What kinds of opportunities might I be able to take advantage of if I didn't have to self-soothe all the time, right? If I didn't work 24/7. And those are the kinds of things that I help my clients think through when we are considering a career transition. Because I know it was raised earlier, the question of, figuring out, well, how much do I need to make to comfortably live where I would like to live? What kind of a pay cut can I afford to take? Some of that is thought work, some of it's numbers. And so, and part of the thought work is being ready to become aware of what the numbers are and getting really granular so that we can do some really fun work and come up with some creative strategies for how you might be able to afford the job of your dreams. You might be able to afford the life of your dreams if we cut out some of these other things that you wouldn't need if you were happier anyway. So I always like to give my folks an exercise in terms of figuring out how much is it actually costing you, right? Because every situation is different. And I will say, during the pandemic, the scale tipped considerably toward Amazon purchases and Instacart delivery, because travel was taken off of the table. Even parking and commuting costs were taken off the table for most people. And those were so huge. Just thinking about, kind of what costs went away when we all went remote started to get folks thinking about, so if I worked a remote job all the time, this is actually what my life could potentially cost. And there were some really fun conversations going on in terms of just kind of brainstorming what that looks like over the long term. But so in terms of being able to do this work on your own, I'm going to pop into the chat the link to this worksheet. It is a fillable PDF, but oh my goodness, Eileen, if you can turn this into a Word document, that's it. I'm obviously going to need your tech services because you're beyond. But you guys can download this at your leisure. But really what we want to do is we just want to start thinking about this, right? We want to start going through thinking about what we spend money on, day in and day out, pre-pandemic and during the pandemic, where are your sweet spots, right? Where are your soft spots where you really do tend to splurge? And are those splurges really related to the fact that maybe I just don't like my job enough and it's not providing the happiness and the joy and the fulfillment that I anticipated I would be getting out of my life? I think when I was practicing, I have a bit of a workaholic tendency. That is just my natural default setting. And I don't think it's bad to be a workaholic if you really love what you do. It's bad to be a workaholic when you hate what you do, because then you spend your whole day in that negative space. And so I was a workaholic when I was in Big Law, which resulted in, all of my convenience spending. And I realized now that I'm out of the law and I'm doing something that I absolutely love, I work about the same hours. I'm just way happier. And I don't have to spend money on things that are inserting, fake joy into my life because I get so much joy from working with my clients and seeing them transform their lives and helping them reach their financial goals, that I don't need to be spending money in other areas because all of this is just so fun. But so this worksheet will be there for you, for you to download and fill out, in a time when you're comfortable. But again, if anybody, is willing to share what some of your golden handcuff categories may be, we would love to hear them. I am sure that there are people on this call now and definitely watching the recording that have very similar categories. The self-soothing often comes up as one of the top ones for my folks, though I will say extended childcare is often a big one as well. But let me move this forward. So we talked about, kind of where you are in terms of your life right now. We always want to take a look at your current financial picture before we figure out how are we going to get you into your future financial picture. So the second step of these strategies is thinking about what your new life could look like, right? So we want to figure out what kinds of practical strategies can you take while you are in your current job to prepare for a transition into something better, into something more fulfilling. So some of the things that I always want my clients to start thinking about, number one, you want to focus on the big things, right? We don't have a lot of time to be pinching pennies. And I don't work with any of my clients and take their coffee away. That is cruel and unusual punishment. I do not work with my clients and tell them that they can't have their children in daycare anymore because that's absurd, right? These are not solutions. The solutions are to find some of your large recurring expenses and make sure that we are getting the most bang for your buck. And so what could that actually look like? Oftentimes, it looks like refinancing debt. That's often a big one that people think is not an option available to them. Student loan payments are not fixed. They are not static. Even if you are outside of the federal student loan world and you have already refinanced and you have private loans now, refinancing is just getting another loan from another bank, right? So there are things that we can do to massage those student loan payments to make them easier to handle in a different career situation. What I often find is that there's this term out there of fixed expenses, and fixed expenses just mean that the payment is the same every month, right? Or on a regular basis. It doesn't mean that that expense is actually fixed in your life and has to exist that way for the rest of time. We're lawyers. If anybody's going to be able to negotiate a better rate for something, it's us, right? We're great at documentation. We're great at negotiation. We are the prime candidates for making sure that these large recurring expenses fit our life and are as low as possible so that we can make a move if we need to. Another thing that I always want my clients to think about are your workplace benefits, right? These are often things that you kind of sign up for when you get there, and maybe you don't think about it, and maybe you're in the Cadillac healthcare plan, and at many law firms, you pay through the nose for it. You want to ask the question, do I really need all of this insurance, or are all of my providers in a different health insurance plan that is hundreds of dollars less per month? Am I going to be able to save thousands and thousands of dollars, per year in my premiums if I just downgrade my health insurance a little bit? These are the kinds of questions we want to start asking while you're still in your current situation, because we want to optimize everything that you're doing to get you ready for the next phase. But so focusing on those large recurring expenses is going to give you the most bang for your buck. And that's where I always like folks to start. Second, I want you to start thinking about what's really important to you. Right? Those 4 categories of golden handcuffs that we talked about, some of them may actually be related to your values. Right? We had travel come up as definitely, could be a golden handcuff, but sometimes it's a value of folks. They really do appreciate travel. It's not a self-soothing activity. It's something they need to survive. And if that is true, then we always want to be saving some space in our spending plan for travel. We don't want to cut out the things that are very valuable to us. If family time is very valuable, we want to make time and provide resources for that, right? If your church is very important to you and tithing is important, we want to make room in your spending plan for that. But once we know what is very important to you, we want to focus on the other stuff and cut out that as much as possible, right? Because if we are funding our values, we won't feel like we're sacrificing anything if we get rid of it for a while so that we can maybe make a move into something that would be more fulfilling. And lastly, I always warn my clients, let's not make any drastic changes while you're still working in your very, very stressful job, right? I am not here asking you to pretend like you're taking a 50% pay cut before you actually leave your firm, because that's insane, right? We want to make sure that you are not setting yourself up for failure. So we're not going to be, kind of slashing through everything while you still have to work 24/7. We're not going to have you, fire your nanny who helps you when you have evening work and evening meetings that you have to be at. We want to save those big lifestyle changes for after you are moved into a new career, have a new life situation, have new life circumstances. We just want to make sure that we're thinking about it in the future, but we don't want to do anything that's going to set you up for failure now. And so the last step in all of this analysis, right, is thinking about what your new life is going to look like. What is it going to look like to finance your future life, and how to determine what your future life is actually going to cost, right? So we've now taken a look at our current finances. Maybe we've done some optimization and, we've shaved off the edges here. We've optimized our benefits there. We feel like we're doing a really good job in terms of, making sure that we have access to as much as possible in our current situation. But what is life going to look like in the future? There are a couple of questions that you want to ask yourself when you are thinking about what life could look like post-transition. And asking yourself these questions can sometimes provide the comfort that you need to start doing that exploratory work, right? We want to get you to a place where you don't feel like if anything changes about your job, everything is going to fall apart in every other part of your life. We want to get you to a place where you feel that possibility that we were talking about earlier, that there is a path that you could find. And these are some things that you want to think about when you are, starting that process. First off, which expenses are going to go away entirely, right? We talked earlier, we have an attendee here who is thinking about, what is life going to look like in a place where I would really love to live? I don't know what the cost of living would be. I don't know what a comfortable lifestyle would feel like for me. If you are actually going to move your location, what expenses are going to go away? Are you no longer going to live in a city such that you're not going to have, metropolitan area rent? You're not going to have to put your kids into private school because the schools aren't good. You're not going to, need public transportation. Which expenses are going to go away entirely is something to think about, right? And that can be a really big category for folks. If you are, downgrading how much you're going to be working, are your childcare costs going to be different, right? Are you not going to need all of the extended childcare that you have right now? I can tell you for my clients who are in the DC metro area like me, if you have a mortgage and you have childcare, you really have two mortgages, right? And we all recognize that. And so thinking about which expenses are going to go away is a really powerful tool. But also thinking about what small lifestyle changes are going to be possible, right? What kinds of things are you going to be able to change about your life if you are in a different job? If you went from working at a law firm where you have to be available 24/7 to, some other type of career, maybe you're in-house and it's a company that values free time and, letting you, have time for self-care and personal care. Are you going to be able to cook more? Are you going to be able to, pick up your kids after school? What kinds of small lifestyle changes are going to make a new career possible for you in a way that doesn't seem possible? Third, and this is actually something that a lot of people don't really think about, especially when you've spent so many years just being super busy all the time, thinking about how having more time to plan will affect other things in your life. Right? If you were able to plan your back to school shopping so that you could actually hit back to school shopping sales, right? And you're not just buying everything last minute, rush delivery, these are the kinds of things that feel small, but do add up over time. We see it the most when it comes to things like travel, right? Having to buy a refundable ticket versus a non-refundable ticket. This is like thousands of dollar difference, right? If you're able to plan your trip ahead of time and actually take advantage of all of those wonderful travel deals that get sent around in email all the time, that actually does affect your bottom line. And, I think there's often this adage that, you either can spend money or you can spend time on something. And so when you're making a lot of money, you end up spending a lot of money because you don't have any time. But if you change into a career where time is a larger resource for you, how can you make up for that in your own life? And maybe you won't need as much money to cover everything. And then also thinking about the really big life changes that you might be able to make, right? And we talked about what it would be like to live, in a different location. Many of my clients work at large law firms, which means they naturally also live in major metropolitan areas, which means everything is very expensive. Housing is expensive, transportation is expensive, childcare is expensive, everything is expensive. If you are able to locate to a lower cost of living area, that affects your budget across the board. And especially if you're, in a low cost of living area, but you're still kind of working for a company that's based in a high cost of living area and you have the best of both worlds, that really can be a very powerful combination. But just thinking through, again, this is very similar to, what is going to change about your life. If you can make some of these bigger life changes, right? If somebody is going to become a stay-at-home parent, or you're going to switch to part-time work, what is that going to mean for your life and your lifestyle? And how can you make your finances, respect that so that you can do that work and also make it work out budget wise? And then just being open to a new way of doing things. I practiced at my firm for 8 years. I had a particular way that I knew how to do things. And when I took a 50% pay cut to go to the federal government, I had to learn a new way to do things because I couldn't just call up the delivery person every time. We didn't eat out every single night. I did eventually learn how to cook, and I'm very proud to say I make a mean homemade mac and cheese. But I didn't do it until I left my firm. There was just no time and there was just no energy, right? But being open to a new way that you could live your life will really help open up the possibilities in terms of what we could do, spending wise for you, in terms of long-term financial planning. Those are the kinds of questions you want to be asking yourself with that open and curious mind, so that you can think of what is truly possible and you can actually really start thinking about what you could do in terms of changing. Just a few real life client stories. I do this work, like I said, with lawyers who are particularly considering career transitions. And so, I had a client who was definitely interested in leaving her firm, and her husband was fully supportive. And the real hangup was just the guilt of thinking that it would completely derail all of their financial goals. Was there a way to make this transition and not throw everything off balance? And we did. We were able to find some creative expenses in there that were pretty much going to go away if she were able to, move out of the 24/7 firm into a more reasonable position. They had pet daycare that they were paying for through the nose because no one was home with the pet. They had an extra car. A lot of my clients have extra cars. I'm not sure how this happens, but they had an extra car lying around and she wasn't going to be commuting anymore. So it's trying to think through that in a really practical way, uh, showed them, oh, I think we can do this. And she left her firm. She really gave notice while we were working together. It happens all the time. But she was very excited to leave and also knew that they would be comfortable and they would still be on track. I have worked with several will members, and I love my will members because they are already keyed into all of the possibilities, and I'm just there to help them on the number side, right? And so I had a single will adventurer, and she was able to see how leaving that firm would open up so much time that she had never had to plan these amazing trips she always wanted to take, right? She used to spend tens of thousands of dollars on a trip that she would have to plan last minute. She would have to cancel, reschedule everything. And when she realized, oh gosh, you mean if I'm not on demand and I get to actually plan out these trips that I would like to take, I too can take advantage of travel deals. I too can go in off season if I like. These were the things that really made a difference to her, knowing that she would still be able to have the experiences that she wanted on a budget that made more sense for her to have leave her partnership. And then just a more general lifestyle overhaul. I work with a lot of associates who know that they don't want to make partner. This is something that they are absolutely sure they are not interested in. And they're just trying to figure out how to get the most out of their time in Big Law before they hightail it out of there. And so some of the things that we work on is thinking about what will life look like in the future and what do we need to be doing right now to optimize everything that they have going on while they're in Big Law so that they can take the most advantage of it and use that as an opportunity to open up more possibility in the future. So just a few stories of folks that I've worked with. Like I said, I definitely handle a lot of the practical money stuff, but it's Elena that is actually going to be able to help you think through what does the next step look like and what's really going to bring you that joy and that fulfillment. Most of you guys know that I am prolific on LinkedIn. You could definitely follow me there and connect with me if we're not connected already. I also have a 5 money mistakes lawyers make guide that you can download. I will put the link into the chat. You guys are all going to be added to our email list, but the guide is separate and you need to sign up for that separately. So we'll make sure that you can grab that if it's interesting. And I'm actually all booked up for this year. I have so many lawyers who are trying to do something else with their life. But I will be taking new clients starting in January. But I want to give Elena a chance to talk about all of the amazing work that she does with her will folks, because like I said, I am more than happy to think through money issues with you, but I'm not a career coach. I'm not a life coach. I can't help you find that joy. That's really Elena's specialty.
Thank you, Jessica. That was amazing. I always learn so much, and I definitely love to share Jessica as a resource. And that the will member she was speaking about, not only did she leave her job, she discovered she really wanted to go back to grad school. She went back to grad school, and before starting grad school, she took a year. Not a year. Maybe it felt like a year to her, but she took a month off and she spent a month in Belize. So that planning, she had time to plan for it, right? Mm-hmm. And she moved apartments. She moved to a lower rent place under a big oak tree. She just felt it's so aligned. So I am, really, really thrilled with the work we get to do together, and happy to share a little bit more about let's see. Let me go here. About will, if you're interested in hearing more. So just to recap what we've done so far tonight, we shared the TFAR, and then Jessica shared how to recognize those golden handcuffs and plan for that new life. I think even if you just do that first worksheet that Eileen, thank you again. You're kind of a wizard at that. She turned the second one into a Word document also. So thank you. So I just want you to think about what you're taking away so far, right? So there's been a lot. You can type that into the chat or make a note for yourself at the very least. Writing things down really triggers new things. So if you want to type any takeaways into the chat, please do. And I'm going to keep us rolling here. Just make sure we keep the energy up and get you off the call in a reasonable amount of time as well. So what I have found to leave Big Law, in addition to the money piece, right, which is part of it, the thing that people come to will for in particular are clarity of what else could I do? I really don't know what else I could do. I've only ever been a lawyer. A community, so you don't feel so alone doing it, and a process that really guides you through. So those are really the pillars, the steps that I have found work well and people need to have. So if you're interested in hearing more about will, if you're interested in exploring how we could work together and go further, I really invite you to drop a Y or a yes into the chat if you're interested in hearing more. So take a moment and take a look at this beautiful photo, which happens to be in Will colors. And there actually is even a Will member on the call here tonight. So I'm really glad to hear that. So drop a Y or yes into the chat if you're interested in hearing more, how we could go further. Okay, and so a couple of people are messaging me directly, so thank you for that. Okay, so I'm getting some yeses. So I'm gonna keep going. All right, so I want to invite you, if this calls to you, to enjoy and enroll and join us in Will in a special time. We're enrolling and welcoming new members into this Will Transform Fall Class of 2021. And what I found is like we show you how to leave big law in 4 steps. So it takes those kind of 4 pillars, but then we walk you through a process that I call ease. Okay, so ease, again, like I think lawyers are so used to the grind, to push. And this is actually like, it's a little bit of a paradox that it's a little easier than you think it's going to be. Right. So first, we help you get really clear on the skills that you have, that you love to use, that you want to carry forward. What are your interests? Today I was speaking with someone, she's like, it would be amazing to work for a company who's like, I was interested in, or whose values aligned with mine, right? That I wasn't just making more money or engaged in another 10-year litigation. Like, I'm not interested in that. So we help you get really clear on what are your interests and the specifics of what you want in your work and life. Do you want to be able to work part-time so you can cut down those childcare costs and be with kids or be with your pets? Or do you want to live in a different kind of environment? Do you want to work remotely and part-time? Like, we have to claim what we want, people, before we can have it. We have to allow ourselves to become clear on that. And we take you through a process that helps you clarify that, because it's hard to do on your own, right? And then together we brainstorm appealing new possibilities. I loved how Julia spoke before about possibilities, right? That excite you, that inspire you, that energize you. So we help you get really clear. We brainstorm some and then show you how to prioritize them. So you move into the study and research phase in a focused way. You're just concentrating on a couple of top things, and you're getting out there and having conversations with people. You go beyond the Google and what ticks those boxes, what's feeling right to you. There's one Will member who, she was investigating going back to school to become a teacher, HR, and then getting an LLM and doing trust and estate. And she had decided, like every trust and estate person she spoke to, she got so excited. The teachers, the HR people, it was like a clear no. So through those conversations, you're guaranteeing that you're not going into making a leap into something that's not a good fit for you. Right. And the final E is engage in consistent mindset work, like we did. We use the TFAR, we use the other mindset tools. We quiet our inner critics and inner skeptics and take consistent action. All doing this in a community of other women learning, growing, and stretching themselves. And how we do this is we first work on getting you clarity, right? That clarity is the first piece. And you do that through amazing one-on-one coaching. VIPs work with me. I have a couple of VIP slots open, and I have a team of amazing coaches. We're a small team. There's 4 other coaches who are just amazing. I've trained every one of them. We work very closely together. I've got eyes on you when you're in Will, and you get amazing one-on-one breakthroughs and support. Plus, so that you get 3 one-on-one sessions with them. And then we put you into a pod, which is a smaller group within the group, so that you have like real accountability and actions that you're taking. So you get all that kind of coaching. Okay, great. Then you get 6 months in the community. So the program is a 6-month engagement, and you get 6 months of the love in the community. The community calls. You see you're not alone. You expand your network. We pair you up with an accountability buddy if you want them. So on the first community call of every month, I'm like, who wants an accountability buddy? Okay, you two, fantastic. Exchange your information, and we teach you how to have an accountability buddy in a way that works for you. Which is an amazing way to keep going, keep making progress. And it's like going to the gym with a friend, right? You're definitely going to do it if you've got someone else to show up for. And then we have some special events and meetups, and alumni are invited. And we actually had a Will meetup in New York last week and in Los Angeles over the summer. I was able to be in LA. It was great. And we had someone on this call. I was actually at the Will meetup in New York last week. It was so lovely to be in real life with people, be in community, talk, get support. It was just gorgeous. And then we guide you through this process, right? You don't have to try and figure it out or do it on your own. We have an online course that guides you step by step through this ease process. There are 6 learning modules. There's like tons of bonus interviews. I do lots of meditations like the one I started us with that are available to you. And you have lifetime access to this course. So if you don't get it all done, and I know, there's all this like fear of not doing it right, it's okay. It's there for you. And that's one of the things you learn, that you don't have to rush and grind through it. And it's super easy to use. It has a great app. You can use this course from anywhere. You can listen to interviews I've done with women who've left Big Law, like Sheena Chang is someone who left Big Law and started a calligraphy business, and she is just crushing it. And so I have an interview with her with lots of others. All right, so if you want to hear some Will success stories, drop me a little Y into the chat. That would be great. And these are, of course, shared with permission. This photo is of Ange Clements, who is an amazing Will alum now. And she sent me this note before Thanksgiving, the year we were working together. And she said, I've taken a moment before the hustle of Thanksgiving to tell you how grateful I am I found you this year. You've done more to help me grow professionally in the past 8 months than in the past 8 years. I was not confident about my job paths prospects for quite some time, and the work we've done has transformed me. I'm very excited for this next chapter professionally. I didn't think it was possible. So thank you. I hope you get a break with your family. My new affirmation this week: I have a law firm that makes $250K a year and has a positive impact in the world. And I'm sharing this because Ange was working in a mid-sized firm in San Francisco. She left. She has started her own firm. She's doing employment law, and she has made over $250K in her first year out of big law, or medium-sized law. Technically not big, but out of her firm. So really, truly amazing. The next person, Leah, before I found Will, I was really at the end of my rope. I was panicked. I was ready to leave. She felt trapped and scared. I remember my first call with her. She said, it was before the pandemic. She said, I could die in my office and like they would roll my body out and like bring someone else in. I mean, that was the level of despair she felt. Will was like a ray of hope. I loved knowing that other women like me, plus a whole program, were dedicated to one common issue. And she's made a healthy move. She went to an in-house role at a startup in Chicago. She's having a great time. And she's going to be a guest speaker in our upcoming Sunday sprint, which I'll tell you about in a minute. And then we have Gina, who said, before Will, I was like, what am I doing? I know I don't want to be a lawyer anymore. And she was going through the motions, paying bills, feeling half dead inside. So she has gone on to leave to start a blog, and is on her path to become a public speaker. So the best investment I've ever made in Will, the best, so much more than find a new job. So if you're interested and you would like results like these, drop another Y into the chat for me. You can do it privately. That's totally welcome. So yeah, the Will Alumni Network, Jessica, thank you for saying that, is worth it alone. So that is a huge benefit because you get not only to know and connect with the current members, we have a secret Facebook group that's just for members and alumni, and you get lifetime access to that too. So it really, like, members are like on it. I was on a call and someone was like, I'm interested in having, there's a job posting at the Santa Monica city office. Does anyone know anyone there? And within that day, she had someone to talk to. It was really amazing. So I'm going to keep going because I've gotten a couple of private Ys. So the course, the structure, like, the value, we're here to talking about money. So I just want to can I be really honest with you guys? Like the value of will, we've put dollar amounts on things. And because that's how our world works. But I want you to think about, like, really, what's the value for you? So the course, the structure, this having this proven process, not having to think about it, just following things step by step. We value that at 2,997. The coaching that takes you from confused to clear, that gives you that really intimate, deep one-on-one support, valued at 4,494. And then the community where, like, you're not alone. You break that isolation, you're connected, you're getting help, you're making progress, valued that at 1,997. So all this together comes close to $10,000, right? 9,488 for the value, the dollar amount value of all this. But like the results are what you're really buying, right? And see, what would it be worth to you to know what else you could do? What would it be worth to you to be free from that big law job that drains your time and energy, where you feel so downtrodden, as you said before, Julia? What would it be worth to you to have work that was like meaningful and fulfilling and aligned? And yes, someplace prestigious. There are plenty of other prestigious places to work. We've got people who are working at Google. We've got people who are working at all kinds of like name brand places. It's possible for you too. And what would it be worth to you to have all the things that money can't buy, right? Like time, freedom, connection, the ability to take a vacation that doesn't get hijacked by your job. We also have some bonuses that are available until September 30th, but for you guys, I'm stretching it a little bit so that, since this call is happening on the 28th, this of course is a time limited offer for if anyone's watching the replay at a later date. We're having a kickoff call on October 5th for all the new members so you can get to know your class. We're doing this amazing thing called the Sunday Sprint. I had Jessica in last year. She got to be a guest speaker. We have guest speakers. I teach this amazing morning mindset, miracle morning tool, and you are feeding yourself first. It's really about how to nourish yourself first and create a morning ritual and routine that feeds you. There's so much more. We're doing an alumni panel this year. And then the extra bonus is we do an additional money mindset where I'll take you further with your money mindset in this money mindset bundle. So you're really creating new money beliefs. So all of these are valued at 3,991, right? You could enroll or book a call with me, and I'll drop the links into the chat in just a moment. But for you guys who are on the call or listening to the recording, you can take advantage of this till Friday, October 1st, 2021. Oh, thank you, Jessica. Yay, we'd love to align extensions. Because as Jessica said to me before, who knows that September has 30 days, not 31. So the whole value of all this is really well over $13,000. But the investment, the monetary investment for Will Transform is 4,997. Okay, so that is the investment. If you are interested, enrollment is open. Jessica dropped the link. You go to Women Interested in Law and Leaving Law. It's a long URL /transform. And if you want to have a one-on-one conversation with me, I would welcome that. You can also book your call. I think Jessica dropped that in as well, right? I'm just pulling up my chat box. Yes, you can book a call with me as well. So I will just drop it into the chat again. It's in order to get the bonuses, you have to book your call at least by Friday, okay, October 1st. And then you would have to enroll by the day that the bonuses start, October 5th, okay? So we are ready for you. If you are ready to enroll now, come on in. The water is really warm and lovely. The community is amazing. I'm just gonna touch on a couple of the objections I hear. Let me just do a time check. Just because I know we want to, okay, good. So I'm going to do this very quickly so we're wrapped up in just a few more minutes. But money, obviously the biggest one. And what I hear often is like, that's expensive. Like, yeah, it's even more expensive to work with me one-on-one, and you're worth it and I'm worth it. It's really that simple. Like what we invest in, what we pay attention to grows. And if you want to grow all those results of freedom and knowing what else you could do and work that feels amazing, that you feel aligned and happy to wake up on Monday morning, go to, what would that be worth to you? Right? What would it be worth to not have a vacation hijacked? What would that be worth? The second objection is time. Is like, do I have the time to do this? I'm not sure I have the time. Well, similarly, like what we invest in, we do. So if you want to do this, if you want to create more time, you got to invest a little bit time up front to reap the benefits of like way more time. And listen, right? Time is the one thing we can't create more of. So it's really a question you have to ask in your heart. How much longer do I want to spend giving away my time to Big Law or whatever your practice is, right? How much more of my life do I want to give away in 6-minute increments? That's the question that only you can answer, right? And what I think is really underneath all of those is like this fear that it won't work for me. So I can tell you this has worked with dozens and dozens of women. If you have become a lawyer, if you've achieved all that you've achieved, you can 100% do this. And we are here to get you over your finish line, to get you the results you want. That's what we're here for. Okay. And if you haven't been able to do it on your own, it's not your fault. Let us take you by the hand. Let's do this together. And we're going to have so much more fun. Okay. So to recap, bonuses available till October 1st, right? You got to, if you book a call with me that happens before October 5th, you can still get those bonuses, right? And this is happening one time only. The Sunday Sprint kicks off October 10th. Would love to have you in it. If you're ready to begin, go ahead over and just enroll, just get started. Like even, I ask you not to even overthink like a lawyer, which is probably not realistic. Or do one of those TFARs, right? Do a TFAR on this. What are your thoughts about this? What's a new thought you could think? One might be, if it works for them, it could work for me too. All right, I'm going to just say huge thank you. And then Jessica can come back on and we're here to answer any of your questions. Thank you so much, Jessica, for having me. It's been so much fun.
Oh, thank you so much, Elena. I don't know what I would have done if Will had been around when I was trying to make these decisions, because it was it wasn't even the money. Yes, I was totally hung up on the money because that's just how I am. But also the emotional aspect of thinking about leaving my identity as a lawyer was so traumatic. And it was just, I felt so stuck. If I had been around more people who were no longer lawyers, I feel like I would have traversed that journey faster. But I only knew lawyers and we're all my friends. We were all stuck together. But I so appreciate what you're doing with Will. Every interaction that I have with a Will member, number one, they speak so highly of you. And number two, they are really going after their dreams. It's such a wonderful program that you've put together. I love the very small piece that I get to play in terms of being able to provide workshops and things like that for Will. But what you're doing is really the amazing part. So for all of you watching the recording, remember all of those special deals will be expiring. So make sure you hop on it. But thank you, Elena, so much for your time tonight. We are just at the 90 minutes. I rarely end on time. So I'm very, very impressed with both of us. And all the handouts and the recording will be going out to everyone tomorrow. So that's all that I had. Elena, anything else to close us out?
Thank you so much, Jessica, for having me. And anyone out there watching and listening, believe that you can do it, because you can.
Thanks so much, everyone. We will see you at next month's Zoominar. It's going to be on student loan repayment strategies, the sexiest financial topic we have here in lawyerdom. And I'll be having a guest from Student Loan Planner, one of my favorite shops. And I'm super excited for all of you. So be on the lookout for that email, and we will see you next time.
Bye.